All right. Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Emery?
Nothing like hijinks to start the day.
Nothing like hijinks to start the day. Thank you for bearing with us through our technical uh, difficulties, but we figured it out. We are here. Happy Sunday, everyone. Uh, I think Emery and I just wanted to extend the 3-day weekend just a little bit longer. But we're here. We're here. We're back. We're ready to go. Markets are getting ready to open. Emery, this is your show. I'm just a guest here, so I'm going to hand it over to you. What are we looking at today? How are we feeling?
Well, I'm excited that you're sharing the time with me. I love getting to be on air with you. I love it when we go through markets and set things up. And just as we're getting ready to go live, we have a little bit of news we're seeing on the stream. It's a little bit crazy, but we've got some Topstep X news, and I'd love for you to talk about that
Yeah.
with everyone.
For sure. So I'm gonna pull up my charts really quick, and if you guys have seen, you probably seen it on social media, or if you're subscribed to the Project X email list. Contract limits. Shout out to the Project X team, Topstep X team, continuing to build a platform that is uh, intended to help traders. The contract limits are now available, where you can set specific contract limits for any given market, right? So if you are a trader that finds yourself over leveraging in the Nasdaq when a trade goes your way, so you try to double it or triple your size to win it back, you can lock yourself out from doing that. So you can see in this symbol contract limits list, you can choose what symbol it is. I've already done the Nasdaq, so let's do the Nikkei here as well. If I'm ever going to trade the Nikkei, probably better to just do it with one contract. That is a pretty big contract, $25 a tick, and that's expensive for a Topstep account. So I'm gonna limit myself to only trading one of those, save it, and then obviously we have the settings where you can lock out your risk settings for the day. Make sure you do this. I think at some point these are going to be global settings where you are not allowed to make any changes. But Emery, we said this when we had the daily loss limit. If you don't set it to liquidate and block, um, it's kind of defeats the purpose when you are
Exactly.
when you're locking yourself up, but you have the key to the cell, right? So locking it out, locking your risk settings for the day to make sure that you're not incentivized to try to change those risk settings when things aren't going your ways. I think is extremely important. But again, I think it's a great feature. I have been kind of victim of over leveraging every once in a while myself, but setting those
100%.
limits is
Same.
extremely important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Let's get back to your
Well,
charts if
we
you're ready.
yeah, yeah, we've got a pretty news heavy week, right? We've got tariff stuff coming out, and I'm gonna look on my other sheet of data to see what's going on in Musk land. See if he's done something else. He's been threatening about this new party for a bit,
Yep.
and who knows what that's going to do to the markets besides tank Tesla. I'm pretty sure it's going to do that. Um, People are going to be pretty awfully unhappy about that. So there's also a BRICS meeting that is supposed to be all day today. And so the BRICS are the small groups. I think it's like uh Brazil, Italy,
Russia, China.
um, Russia, yeah, and maybe Spain. Whoa, look at the gap up in Bitcoin. All right, so markets have started. We've got a lot of news going on. And, Jay, you and I are both the type to sort of hold off on that first trade, right?
Correct.
And so one of the things that I really want to explain just a little bit more actively is how we can really utilize what's going on in Topstep X that will help us with supports. A lot of things that I talk to traders about, they don't know where to raise their stop to. They don't know what the price action might look like in terms of the overall risk they're taking if they get into a trade. And so what I have up here is the super trend. And I do want to show it to everybody. I showed it to everybody last week.
Okay.
We tightened up the ranges just a little bit. The factor is 3 and the length is 2. So it's fairly tight. Not going to give you a super wide range if you're looking at the 1 hour charts, but you can see on a move like this, as Bitcoin is lifting, it's lifting into the resistance areas. And so if you're thinking, hey, moving average is kind of flat to down, I want to take a short, your risk event is really going to be up in this ledge up here. So if we're thinking about something that says, hey, things might move a little bit sideways and I just want a little bit of risk, you might just put a sell order right there at the very top of the range because it minimizes your risk by a very short bit. Now, the question is, what if it doesn't fill you? Well, I mean, that certainly can happen, but it's better to wish you were in a trade than to wish you weren't in a trade.
Right.
That's always the worst part, right? So, do you have any thoughts about Bitcoin? I'll share the weekly expected move, but what are your thoughts around Bitcoin?
It's going up. I've been looking for places to buy it. I honestly, I wish I was an investor in Bitcoin in the dip that we had a little bit earlier. But it's not a market
I
that
know.
I want to short for a very long time. Does it? It is a great trading market. I will say that. I did get some signals last week to take shorts in micro Bitcoin. But I think my thought process is if I can make money selling Bitcoin, selling micro Bitcoin futures, I'm taking whatever I make and putting it to buying long-term Bitcoin because it is going up on the higher time frame. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a trades really well for day traders. Pretty good range. It's not expensive. Where you can trade a couple of contracts and you're not going to blow your account unless
Yeah.
you completely over leverage. But yeah, I think it's a great
Yeah.
market to trade. Where we're sitting right now, we kind of do have uh, and I'll switch over my charts real quick. We do have this
Yeah,
kind of
please.
volume shelf up here, right around what is that? 110,000. We see a ton of volume, and then we have kind of gaps in between this volume profile right here. Uh, we
Hmm.
did gap up, but this area up here, these 110s, we've seen a ton of rejection. So I don't know how directional this market has been since we've traded above 100,000. It's been in a range, but yeah, I like
Yeah.
it to the upside long term. That doesn't mean there aren't short opportunities.
So here's a question for you. Why
Mhm.
does my volume profile look so very different to yours?
So what I
What
have
does
on my side over here is a visible range volume profile. So it's going to adjust based on
Gotcha.
the range that I'm looking at. I'll switch it back over to your charts. Um, and yeah, I think we both have
So
visible range, so it adjusts with the if we
the
zoom in and
move
out on the
out.
charts, it'll adjust.
Um, so I think mine says fixed range. Yeah, this is the visible range here.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah, there you go.
okay? Maybe it does look the same. Hmm,
It's similar.
interesting.
Oh, you know what it is?
Yeah.
Change the row size. So go to
What?
rows layout, that first drop down.
Uh-huh.
If you change that first drop down to ticks per row,
Yeah.
then it'll look a little bit like mine.
Ah, ticks per row.
And I have it set to 4
All
ticks
right.
per row.
4. Ah, okay. All right. I see that. I see that. All right. So not too unsimilar,
Hmm.
but I guess it's just the size of what we're watching.
Right.
So um what I want to share with everyone are the expected moves. So here's something really big that's happened 2 weeks in a row. We've had weekly expected moves, and for 2 weeks in a row, the ES, the NQ, the YM, um, nat gas, and I think oil just stayed right in the range. All of those blew outside of their expected moves to the upside. So, what this tells us is that option traders are not seeing a big upside, and so they're getting caught on the back foot. So what might happen here is if they continue to do that, we're really going to have a volatility blow off event where traders that are short are just going to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I just got to get out of here and turn around long because I'm bleeding to death. And that's something we really want to watch for. The flip side of that is if we hold inside of these expected moves and the market compresses volatility again. So hard to say, especially with the two. I mean, we've probably got a week and a half of very noisy um, economic and political news.
Or
And so that could keep us sitting in a wide range, but that's just something to really keep your eye on. For micro Bitcoin, while we're here, 112,140 is the weekly expected move to the upside. To the downside, it's 104,150. So if you're interested in playing that range, there it is for the ES. Also a pretty good gap up, but failing. Take a look at the expected move here. 6,372 is the top edge of the expected move on the week. The low of the expected move, 6,197. We're expanding the range. What I noticed was for the day tomorrow, almost half of the entire weekly move is jammed into Monday. So there's a
oh,
tremendous amount of volatility. They expect the entire week, they jam 50% of it into Monday. And that's true across the board: ES, NQ, YM, copper, nat gas, micro Bitcoin, oil, gold. All of them are showing very big volatility ranges relative to the entire week. So it could be the traders finally going, holy cow, we've been getting this wrong so long. Let's squeeze it out. But we don't really know, right? And so what we really have to do is just follow trend in the grand scheme of things. And for the ES, trend is clearly up. We've got a point of control here at 62.46. We sold off. Of course, international markets were open for our July 4th. We sold off during that space. Now we're gapping up. And here's super trend getting to tell us exactly what's on the horizon. So notice our super trend event says, listen, if we close a candlestick above this line, it's very likely that we head to the top of the range and potentially change direction. We can see low, higher low, higher low. So my
and
thought
Marie,
would be dips or buys. Yeah.
that super trend, you're looking at it on the hourly time frame. Is that correct?
Yes,
Uh,
this is on the hourly.
okay,
This is
gotcha.
on, but it works in any time frame. It's just,
Right.
here's what I would say. Let's say you're somebody that says, you know what, I just love trading tight time frames and I want to use my 5 minute. All right, look at how super trend gives it. Now, here's how I love the super trend. I like using the VWAP to tell me what's going on in terms of volume by price. I use a 14 simple moving average that tells me relative trend. And my super trend says, hey, if you're going long, your stops need to be down here.
Okay,
If you're going shorts, your stops need to be up here. And it
gotcha.
immediately knocks you out of a trade. So if you want something that says, hey, give me a little bit more room, you can do a factor of a length of 3 and a factor of 3 stretches things out for you. The tighter your candlesticks are, 3 minute, 5 minute, whatever, the bigger you want these things to be so you don't get, thrown out of a trade too fast. But since I look at my 30-minute and hourly charts to initiate a trade, that's plenty enough for me, right?
Yeah.
So right now it's saying, hey, if I were to take a trade, let's just say I sold right now, right? Right. And so if I sold this, my super trend tells me you better not go over 63.12. You got to get out of the trade. And so it really does do a great job of just building a framework
Yeah.
for the trader.
Do you
It's
wait
it's
for
really, you know,
it? Let's say your stop is above where that super trend line is, and we get
uh
a close above it, and the trend now flips from short to long, but your stop is above. Do you still trust that stop, or if the trend flips, will you get out of the trade, or are you setting your stop exactly at that super trend line?
I put it just above it,
Okay.
and because of the wick, I'll look at two stair steps of the super trend. One, two, and so my stop is just a little above it. Here's the thing, everything's relative to trend. So if I'm staring this down and I go, well, wait, what do I have here? I've got a VWAP that bounced and then immediately rejected. I have a downward sloping 14. And so, technically speaking, if I've got a mean reversion that bounces and the price action is actually turning around, I should pull back for some of this move right here,
Okay.
right? The chart should say, hey, I think I'll come into a higher support. And so I will look at what was the old support for the last upside super trend, and I'll put my target above that in hopes of getting filled. So yeah, real simple. um, I'm going to try and get on Robert's schedule to try to, you know, put a few more arrows in place so that people can simply look at this and go, oh, I see. Right. If I had been staring it down and I thought to myself, okay, this is negative, I would have had a limit order sitting up here at 63.13 to give me the least amount of risk in the trade. Now the risk is fairly wide, but I am moving in the direction of motion, so it just feels a little bit better. That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch over to my charts real quick if I can. I just want to show what I'm looking at on
Yeah,
the
sure.
S&P.
Of
Uh,
course.
so on a daily, like we said, we are moving to the upside, right? Market's making all-time highs, all-time high in the S&P 63.33 quarter. We did have that sell-off on Friday. So what I'm looking at is that Friday's range, right? We know that happened on lower volume, uh, pretty much no volume, 121,000 contracts traded on Friday, uh, holiday, of course, so that's to be expected. But we did have a pretty big range on that day, right? 45 points with that low of a volume. I'm seeing whether or not we hold here at these 6,300s because I'm thinking, what market participants were actually there to trade this and bring this market down, or was this an opportunity to just get price lower for longer term market participants to join in here? If we look at a 30-minute chart, I'm looking at the 200 moving average at 62.67. A
I don't
pullback that
see your charts,
you
Jay.
don't see my charts. You should be able to see them now, though. You should be able to see them now.
Um,
Let me know if you can see them now, guys.
okay. Yeah. Yay.
All right, there we go.
Yay.
All right, so on the daily, I'll go back to this real quick. We're in an uptrend. We had Friday's range. We sold off a little bit, but that was on extremely low volume, about a tenth of the average volume that we have. So I don't look at that as, real sellers in this market. I think it was just an opportunity, maybe some profit taking on a market that was making all-time highs. We go down to a shorter time frame on the 30-minute chart. We have the 200 moving average, which is down here, this white line, 62.66. If we get a pullback there at any point in this session, and maybe we don't, right? We just saw us kind of gap up. We're above 6,300s already, which is a major psych level.
Uh-huh.
If at any point we get down to this 200 moving average, either at night or during fast markets, I would be looking for an opportunity to buy, because if we zoom out, we can see that 200 moving average has been somewhat supportive on this trend up. Are we getting extended? Maybe, but yeah, I'm looking for opportunities to buy this market when it looks good. Obviously, this gap up and buying it below 6,300s looks like a good trade so far. Um, but I think also kind of going into the week, I know you said a lot of the expected move is set for Monday. Um, how much price action do
Yes,
you
for
think
this
we
trading day.
how much price action do you think we see with the tariff deadline on Wednesday?
So I really don't, I think it's, I know this sounds crazy, but I essentially believe it's going to be a nothing burger.
Hmm.
If we expand and then contract, because a lot of these tariff negotiations, they're going to take forever to put in place, right? It's all of its chatter of XYZ, but it is going to take a while. So my thought is reflexive moves into I know it sounds like I'm throwing bombs in my office. I have no idea what I knocked onto the floor. But if reflexive moves, I think big moves up, big moves down. I think the bigger move is going to come if it continues to have a slow bid up. The traders that are short continually because they go, the market's disconnected, the whatever it is that they're saying. If that continues, they are going to turn coat and get out of their shorts, and we are going to go to the moon. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading because the chat, some of the chat is putting in, that the deadline was already moved. I see a couple of hours ago comments from Basent that tariffs will revert back to their April 2nd rates on August 1st for countries that failed to nail down new trade deals with the United States. Basent did say that the August target is not a new deadline for negotiations. We are saying this is when it's happening. You want to speed things up, have at it. You want to go back to the old rate, that's your choice. So it sounds like maybe kicking the can down the road without saying that you're kicking the can
Yeah.
down the road. They have to change
Yeah.
the messaging, right, to make it sound a little
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
Absolutely. And our commander in chief, love him, hate him, the guy works at getting things done, but he
right.
does leave a lot of broken glass. And so sometimes a little passage of time is required for somebody to forget that you kicked a boot in their face full of sand.
Right.
So, um, yeah.
Let's go back over to your charts, Emery. If there's another market that you want to go over, I know you did put on that
Sure.
S&P trade.
Yeah. Let's go to the NQ. The NQ, it's holding the range. It's up over the resistance zone. It's sitting above the moving averages on these 15-minute charts. It's telling us that there's an updraft, certainly, which is not great for my ES short. But here's the range for the expected move. Again, they're calling for about 370 points of movement, either the at the close, 377 above to 377 below. But just tomorrow has got 130 points of implied volatility. And so if we're staring this down, we know that I don't know if they did it because the weekend could be, but here's what we've got. We've got a ton of buying pressure right around this ledge. And so my suspicion is that this area here near 22,877 makes for a pretty nice buy spot for this one. You could have it, it could get a little squishy, so you don't want to size up too big here. Just let it bounce through the area. But when you've got a volume profile that's fat in these pockets, it tells you the traders are trying to defend the range. I prefer buying the dip into the floors of support
Yep.
rather than buying the breakouts. It just feels more comfortable to me with the current market. It's, such a wonky market. Oh, one thing that I do that I haven't done is to anchor the VWAP at the highest volume candlestick of the prior day.
Okay.
And that was the prior live trading day for the US market. And that is the candlestick that occurred, looks like, 9 a.m. The 9 a.m. candlestick is that candlestick right there. And we're rejecting that area, as well as, take a look. I got to tell you, if you spend a little time understanding this super trend, it really gives you a lot of subtext that you don't know. Hey, I don't know where to put my stop here. With it, all of this moving straight down, it clearly tells you, hey, if you want to take a long, your target's going to have to be up here. If you want to take a short, your entry should be near that area. And so that, I just really like it. I started looking really hard at the tools inside of Topstep X to say, hey, what can we build from a new structure perspective, especially as we head into the VIP
Mm.
event. And Super Trend is really pretty. So I'm going to put a few videos together. I'll stick it in the Coach Amory room if you are interested in trying to find that in Discord, just to help folks walk through it. And maybe I'll pop a few live trades up in there so that you can see definitively what it's telling you to do and where your risk opens up. It's a pretty nice tool. So we got 377 to the upside in terms of range. So this whole range is, 750 points wide from high to low. Not saying that's going to happen, but it certainly is something to stare down. If we take a look at the YM, I use the average true range to pull the price action for what we might be seeing next week. The high of Thursday, if it breaks out of that zone, see how the moving averages are. Look, we've got a low and then a higher low and then a higher low and then a higher low. The price action is trying to push higher. And it might be, remember how, what day was it? It might have been Wednesday of last week. It just moved higher and higher and higher and higher. All the price action just kept grinding higher into the edge of the day. There was never a pullback. And this might be exactly what we are looking at over the next little bit,
Yeah.
truly.
I've been liking
Truly.
trading the Dow and the Russell recently. For
Yeah. Oh,
maybe not
let's do the Russell.
for anything more than the on a higher time frame, the Russell has been uh, under the most sell side pressure. So we've been seeing a lot of percentage wise moves to the upside, bigger percentage wise moves to the upside in the Russell than we have in the Nasdaq and the S&P that are at all time highs. Right. I know you said when you were looking at trading the Nasdaq, you would much rather buy a pullback into support than trying to buy breakouts to new
Yeah.
all time highs. Just because I
Mhm.
think we just know naturally that the market isn't going to go straight up and down. But
Exactly.
The Russell and the Dow seem like they have a little bit more room, and we've been seeing some decent ranges trade. So curious to what you see over there.
Yeah.
I'll switch it back over to your charts, but
So, the little fly in the ointment about the Russell is
mm,
that until this jobs number, everybody was thinking, here we go, interest rate cut. We're going to get one. Job numbers are going to be soft. The Fed's going to finally say, hey, we're going to lower rates. And the jobs number was, I mean, very, very bullish. So that keeps interest rates stagnating where they are,
right,
and that could bring selling pressure back into the Russell, because we know that the Russell companies are ones who use a lot of credit and they're very interest rate sensitive. Not that there aren't some really high flyers sitting around in the Russell right now, but in general, we really are looking at an instrument that is very interest rate sensitive. And so, I'd like to see if we're staring this down, let's look at a weekly on the Russell. What the super trend tells us is that right now, as long as it holds above 2204, there's a shot for more upside pressure.
Okay.
And the target is going to be up at 2355 because that's where the super trend says it is. But if it loses this ledge, it's going to fall very likely back into 2106. So if you're staring something like that down, what do we have? We have divergent momentum. We have a lot of price action retracing itself. So, I'd probably look for a look above and fail
Okay.
that gives us more downside pressure. So it tries to get up there, but it can't, exhausts down. Just like when you were trading the other day, you were like, might be a short for now because it's just not getting up to that 850 level. And as soon as it got up there, everything, lit fire and did what it did.
Right.
So that's my thought there. It being interest rate sensitive is pretty important. Let's take a look at oil. Do you trade oil at all?
Uh, oil is a tough market. Oil is a tough market. It
Yeah,
moves until it doesn't, and then it ranges. I find that a lot of the times when I'm
yeah,
looking at oil, it's usually stuck in a range. So I probably have been
yeah. It's
trading
very
more natural
savage.
gas recently. Uh, but yeah, let's look at it. It's
Yeah,
one of our
boy,
biggest
has
markets.
that. Yeah, oh man, that gas. That's the next one. So weekly expected move on the upside with oil, $69.28. On the downside, $63.67. And I mean, look at this. War, and then not so much. Completely back in the range.
Yep.
Here's the big thing though. This chart doesn't really look like it wants to go back lower, right? It really doesn't. It's got low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. As long as it holds the sticky bit at around, what is that, 6630 or so, it's going to be in pretty good shape. I would like to see, of course, I'd like to see it get back up over this nasty formation, right, from a daily perspective. But if we look at it hourly, it's it looks to me like I would not be averse to trying to buy a low here at 64.61, right? I have my stop. Why do I have it there? I have a turn from a negative super trend to a positive super trend. I have the range sitting here. It's at the bottom of the big fat part of the curve, right? So you know that the volume down here, all else equal, is going to be able to push us back up to the area. So if it comes down in a flush, I'd like to do it. I think we're going to see a lot of upside in oil over the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go to nat gas. So nat gas, which I have a lot of exposure to nat gas from an industry perspective
Okay.
for my other long-term portfolios. So uh, I'm fairly bullish. This I don't love, right? It's
No,
literally been cratering
it has been.
and it moves in 10,000ths of a penny, right? I mean, wicked leverage if you're trading this one. So for me, it's important for me to look at the weekly and see what's going on here,
Okay.
right? And we can see what a nasty patch this is in, right? If we think this is a very hideous head and shoulders pattern, we should see buying pressure accumulate and really give us another leapfrog up off of $3.16, but that's 20 cents away. It's also the weekly implied vol move. So, I mean, they're saying, hey, listen, oh, here's how you read the super trend here. You might go, what is, there's nothing up here. That's because it's completely bullish on the dip action, right? It's got so much upper leverage that there's literally no resistance except if you look well to the left.
Yep.
And so you really have to wait for these lines to lose themselves before you take yourself a short. And so, you know, I'd love to see that bounce. Now, what's happening, which I like, is technical divergence. We have moving averages that are down. We have momentum that is lifting, still negative, but it's lifting as we make lower highs, excuse me, lower lows. And so that negative divergence is going to exhaust into buying pressure somewhere. That's my thought. Let's see how this ES trade is going, or if it's just floundering. All right, we got about 30 ticks. Oh, that's about to exit.
Nice trade there, Emery. Where are you short from?
Thank you. Let's see. 63.
Got like 6307.
6306.
Nice trade. 5 points in the
Yeah.
profit.
Yeah.
Huh.
Nice. And look at this stinker. It came right into my stinking trigger and bounced right off of it.
Gotta love when that happens.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Gotta love when that happens.
Yeah, but but the great thing is you can see how well that super trend gives you your range events for you to work through, right? For me, I I could have put it up just a little bit higher. I should have put it up right at the VWAP, right? Instead, tried to get all greedy like. But yeah, it's a really nice listen, and it's very carefree. As long as you manage your risk, you're like,
Right. Let the market do what it's going to do.
Exactly. And you almost, you know what I liken it to? Bowling with the bumpers. Is that a dumb thing to say?
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. You're gonna throw the ball. It's gonna hit something. You know you're not gonna hit the other person next to you.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, if I get up over there, I really am sitting in the wrong place. But
Right.
if I come back and as long as I stay in between the lines, I'm doing okay.
Right. I like this. It's a great
Yeah.
analogy. I love using analogies, and that's one I've never heard before. So that's a good one. I'm gonna add that to the list. I'm gonna steal that from you, Emery.
Count on me.
Bowling with the bumpers.
All right. Yeah. So, what else do we want? Are there any questions in the chat?
Ending right now, chat. If you guys do have any questions, Alchemist has a question. Why did I get banned from Topstep Discord? I don't know. Never gotten banned, so got in trouble. Might be something that you did, but I know Andrew's checking on that for you. But chat, if you guys have any questions, do let us know. I can pull up a chart real quick to show you what I'm looking at. Gold has been a pretty nice market to
love
trade.
it. Oh yes.
Gold has been trading pretty well. Let's take a look at a daily really quick on gold. What's been happening over the past couple of days? I have three moving averages on my charts. 200 is the white one, the purple one is the 50, the 20 is this gold one here. And gold has spent the most time under the 50-day moving average than it has all year in the last week or so.
Yeah.
So the trend seems to be kind of changing. We can see the 20 and the 50 definitely flattening out a little bit. So gold has some decisions to make. Anywhere up near this 20-day moving average for the week, up near 33.65. I'd probably be looking for opportunities to short unless something changes. Of course, with headlines and news and whatever this week, these markets can change. But right now, the pattern is saying we're in balance with this 20 moving average on the daily being the upper extreme of that balance. So maybe looking for opportunities to sell up there or buy into that area for taking some profits. While we have seen gold kind of consolidate a little bit over the past couple of days, the daily ATR is still decent, right? We're still trading about 50 points on the daily ATR, so there's opportunity in this market. Um, and I think with the range being so wide, you can probably buy it one day in the week, sell it the next day, and make money on both potentially if we're going to stay in this range. Mhm. Right? Go ahead, Emery.
Yeah. I think it's in a topping formation in the
Yeah,
near term.
agreed.
Yeah. I mean, you can make a ton of money trading this one.
Hmm.
You just cannot let it get away from you, or it will shred you like nobody's business.
For sure.
Just,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think trading micro gold is it's a great contract to trade. Um, where you can put on a couple micros. I think we see Hogue and JD during the opening call when they take the opening range break trades
yeah,
in gold. They're taking it with micros just because the risk. You're inherently managing your risk by trading micros. Um, where those bigger
yeah,
contracts can get pretty expensive.
absolutely. No doubt about it. And you could still make a really some good money trading those
For
micros
sure.
because once things start trending, it's just really nice. It's just really nice.
Speaking of trending, Anne Marie, have you looked at platinum at all?
Oh my goodness. Actually, I did look at platinum. Let me see what my levels are. Put them in my notebook over here. Yeah, platinum's got a $59 spread from, is that, do I have that right? Yes.
Yeah, it sounds
It's
right
got
for
a
how it's been trading.
$59 range. Yeah. Yeah. It's insane right now. It's insane right now. And so the question might be why? You know, I I I'm not quite sure why. But, sometimes why definitely doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
just is. What I do notice about this one is if you just say, "Hey, I'm going long," good luck. You
Right.
have got to work off of support zones. I mean, it is really on take a look at this. It's come back and tested the same line in the sand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. 8 days. It's come in to that edge. And so it is definitely in a range space. The thing for me is I got negative momentum, right? I have price action moving up, momentum moving down, candlesticks retesting each other. Listen, if it gets above 1447, it's going to be a squeeze. I mean,
Yeah.
my thought it'll be a short squeeze, and I mean, I think it's a really nice. Uh, I think it's a nice buy stop, frankly,
Hmm.
but you're going to have to be hawking it because we have no idea where
When
the
it's going to
blow-off
do
top
that.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a nice instrument for sure.
What does it trade? $10 a tick in platinum, I believe it is. Is it 10 or $5 a tick?
Yes, I think it's 10. I think it's 10.
It is. Let's. All right. So I just put one on in a practice account. So $5 a tick.
Oh, it's 5.
$5 a tick. $100 a point. Nope. $50 a point. What are you saying, Jay? Uh, what are you saying? But a pretty good market to trade. Pretty good market to trade. It has been trending.
Yeah.
Trader X is going
Look
back.
at how thin the volume is here. This is very interesting, this volume
It
profile
is.
here, right? If you put on your volume profile analysis, look at that. Holy cow. That is a short squeeze.
Yeah. All the volume traded down near that $1,000 level,
Yep.
and we've just been rallying ever since.
Yep. That is an epic squeeze right there. Wow. Wow.
Is that just straight
So,
manipulation? So I did read a little bit, and like you said, why? And I'm going to be honest, why doesn't matter to me. The fact that something is happening is a lot more important than why it's happening.
yes.
But I did
Yeah,
read
exactly.
it was supply concerns, right? So it seems like
Oh,
a lot of
interesting.
buying in Asia of platinum for supply concerns. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, maybe we are
Yeah,
seeing
I think the
that short squeeze.
metals I think the metals are really gonna have their day. They
Mm.
really have. Speaking of metals, copper, good golly. Have you seen copper?
Yes.
This thing, I mean, zoom all the way back down, all the way back up again. Just really insane motion. This is another one that trades at 10 thousandths of a penny.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of, I mean, if you trade the micro, it'll be a lot easier for you to manage running your top step accounts. The weekly expected move is 530 on the top and 475 on the bottom. Super trend on the daily says that 484 looks like the next line in the sand. For me, I like 480. I've been trying to buy this at 480 since it broke out up above here. I took the trade off and then watched it run again, and I'm like, why didn't you just leave that
Right.
alone?
Just let it go.
I know. So, um, yeah, I think bes- besides the tariff news, which might be, neither here nor there, we have the um, we have the bond markets that look a little bit wonky, but again, they've made rules that change how much banks can hold treasuries. The question is whether banks even want to hold treasuries. And so that could end up being a sticky thing in the bond market. The next thing is, if the dollar starts, it should have a little reflexive bounce because it's been, I mean, it's like looking at a waterfall. And
Yeah.
so that should have a little bit of reflexive bounce. If it has a little bit of a reflexive bounce, you know, it's it's going to be another place that they're going to try and short it in my opinion, in terms of what they're having to do. And then of course, we've got the wild card that is Elon Musk right now. And if he, I mean, there are a lot of people that would go, yeah, I'm going to join another party.
Yeah.
These two suck or whatever, right? I mean, there are a lot of people that feel that way. So
Yeah.
I have a new, I have a secret to tell everybody though. People that rise to the top levels of government usually aren't nice. I'm just saying.
You heard
Just
it here
saying,
first.
right? I mean, people get to the top of the power cycle, they might put on a good show, but
Right.
watch out.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, we'll see what happens. Would you
It's a
agree?
great point, Emery. Great point. Yeah, probably not doing this because you're Robin Hood, right? You wanna, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
sounds noble.
Yeah. 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 I heard somebody say, it might have been Mark Twain, but he gets the credit for saying everything. I heard somebody say something like, anybody who runs for office should never be in office. It's the guy that, is
Yeah,
just trying to do XYZ. But, I mean, we got to live with governments. They're just, unless, you want to live off the grid and be a Ted Kaczynski, but except for blowing people up.
right.
Don't blow people
Don't do
up.
that.
Just, yeah.
Uh, so someone had asked, how do you know the tick values of the different instruments that you trade? I'm looking for a Google sheet that Coach Robert put together. So I'll try to find a link and put that in here. But you can go to the CME site.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the CME site has it there. You can also take a look at this. Let me see if I can post this link. This is like the longest URL in the world. But I'll see if I can post a link to it. Futures calculator. I'll post that. But any other markets you want to talk about, Emery? Anything else you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered the big bits,
I think so.
I think, I'm gonna leave this
We do have,
trade on and
as
let it
far as news
slog.
goes, we do have some stuff coming out. We have BlackRock, some bank earnings starting. BlackRock.
Oh, that's
Is that
right.
this week? I think
Earnings
that's next week.
season.
That's next week.
I think it's next week.
That's next week. So we are coming back into earnings seasons again. It feels like it's kind of always earnings season. Uh,
Yeah, I
they
know.
stretch it out so much, but we have Fed meeting minutes coming up on Wednesday, which was supposed to
Mhm.
be the tariff deadline day, which I think it still is, still on the calendar here as U.S. reciprocal tariff deadline. Again, that comment from Percent was that August 1st is not a new deadline. That's when the tariffs will roll back. So I think the market will still be looking for that. Of course, we got crude inventories, jobless claims, the normal stuff. No really big numbers out. I think the headline this week is going to be what happens with tariffs. For any of our ag traders, the WASD report is the FOMC minutes, the CPI of agricultural markets. That's on Friday. So just be aware of that if you're trading soybeans or corn or anything like that. That WASD report, you probably do not want to have a position on during that. Or you might want to watch
Fair
how the
enough.
markets respond afterwards and maybe take some trades from there. But
Yeah.
volatility, if you're looking for volatility somewhere, Friday in the ag markets at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 Central
Ooh,
will be
wait,
volatile.
I gotta write that down. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna have a rowdy week, frankly, based on the volatility chains and all the news coming out. Just, I mean, I think there's a lot of complacency in the market. A lot of people really aren't buying protection because they're like, why do I got to do that? Every time the market dips, it goes straight back up. And so, I mean, they're not lying. That's exactly what's been
Right.
happening. But at some juncture, if you've been around the block a really long time, it's just there's always a shoe that gets dropped somewhere, and we'll see how markets respond to it. Right now, everything is still by the dip,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
Any trade you take short should be for a short period of time, have very tight risk, and don't sit around going, hey, well, it should come back because
Man,
markets should.
I've been
Yeah,
that trader.
you're good.
It's up
Yeah,
too. It's up too
you're gonna
high. It
should
shouldn't
all
keep
over
going.
yourself. What's that?
I said I've been that trader. Right. It's up too much. It has to come back, and it doesn't have
Oh,
to do anything.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, I've done that 1,000 times. Really, I'm preaching to the choir for myself in terms
Same.
of saying, hey, stop that. There's just this cognitive bias you get when you've got like 4 or 5 really great trades. You're like, okay, this one, yeah.
That's gonna be the
you
one.
know, I know you totally forget that you're not the big deal. The market's the big deal,
Yep.
and you're just a piece of dust on the floor. And
Legitimate.
so, exactly. And so you just have to keep your ego in check, man. Man, my ego has gotten so out of control over the years, and the market just kicks me in the face
What
every
what
time.
what do you do, Emery? Because I think there's a balance, and we could probably end it in a little bit. But I do want to ask this
Yeah,
question: what do you do? Because there is a balance of having to be confident in what you see in the market, right? Because you are every time you click the button, you're putting on risk behind your ideas, right? So, but I think there has to be a healthy balance of saying exactly what you just said, right? I don't know better than the market. I'm just trusting a pattern that I've seen that over a long period of time should play out in my favor. How do you check your ego? What do you do to check your ego? Because for me, that was one of the biggest things where you start getting things going your way a little bit, and you're just like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I
I
figured it
got
out.
this.
The market is going to teach you, but do you see that still coming up every once in a while, or are you at the point now where you've learned that lesson enough?
Oh, no. No, I don't. I'm not sure if anybody honestly speaks that they'll say it always rears its head.
Yeah,
What keeps you in check is what's your risk?
right.
And so if you go, yeah, I got this, and then you see yourself expanding your risk, I mean, it's like zooming onto a bridge that said some guy with a flag going, "It's out!
Right.
You're headed for the river." So, I mean, literally, the second you start expanding your risk, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally are going to careen off the bridge. And so, what I always do in those spaces is, three strikes, you're out.
Okay.
Because I either there are days where I just can't see the market. I just am unable to see it, whether it's cognitive bias or whatever it is. I just can't see it. And so, three bad trades in a row, I'm done. And so, because I know my maximum is three, then I have to divide my total risk on the day by three. And if I say, hey, I only don't want to lose $1,000 today, max, that's going to be about $300 a trade. And so I have to size accordingly to that space. But it really is the simplest way to keep your ego in check is where's your risk?
Yep.
Yeah, you think this trade's going where you think it's going, but where's your risk? And that usually grinds everything to a halt for us.
Great stuff.
Jay,
Uh,
it's so fun to be on with you.
yeah, this is great. This has been great. Been great. I do want to bring up Andrew had shared. Let me see if I can get this up here. If I can figure out where it went. The we have a chart with all of the tick values. So I want to share this so traders can take a screenshot of it, so you guys can see this. Take a screenshot. You know all the tick values for all the markets that we can trade. Give me 1 second to pull this up. Emery, you got any final words before we go for the day into slow markets with Dakota?
No, I mean, get your get your buckles belted. It's probably going to be pretty interesting slow markets
Yeah, I think
when
so.
these get ready.
I may be looking to because we know the volume comes in a little bit later
Uh-huh.
when that Asia session starts. I may be looking to take a short in gold here. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, maybe looking to take a short in gold. Uh,
What
traders.
level are you looking at to take the
All
short?
right, so let me pull up my charts really quick. I can't figure out this getting the screenshot in here, so I'm gonna post the screenshot in the Coach J Discord if you want the tick
Oh, cool. Oh,
values
cool. I'll
for
look
all
for
of
that.
these the different markets. Let me post that here,
I'll
and then
share
I'll
it.
show you what I'm looking at in gold, and then we can probably head out from there. All right, give me a second here. Let's switch back over to my charts. All right, so we have on the 30-minute chart, we have this 200 moving average, which is white line here. We can see kind of all the moving averages converging over each other. Where gold has been,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it has some decisions to make here. So we see so far in this session, we kind of peaked above 3350s and rejected there. And I'm also
Hmm.
looking at this 30-minute candle, which was what was the big news that we had last week? NFP. So Thursday we had
Hmm.
NFP released. So if
Hmm.
we can start to see some price action below 50% of that NFP candle, I really do like this short. So
I like that
3340s
setup.
for rotation back lower, but I need to see some selling under that because we can see right now that 3340 area is kind of supportive, right? Where we didn't really trade all the way up to the upper extreme of the candle, but we haven't seen a lot of price action below it. So I want to see some sellers push this 3340 area and then potentially trade down to the lower extreme down to 3320s. Uh,
Yeah, I like that setup. I do. I
thanks.
like that setup a lot. I'll be watching it.
Risk would go above
Do
these
you
highs
when
here.
you put it on, you put it on and go to sleep?
Uh, if I get the signal, this one I would and probably look for about a trade. I
Gotcha.
would probably be
Gotcha.
risking about 8 to 10 points to make
Okay.
16 to 20. That one I would probably put on and just let work.
Okay. All
I've,
right,
I've trying to
cool.
be I've
Love
been
it.
trying to get more comfortable at doing that.
Yeah.
Where I think my average trade time right now on this account that I'm trading is about 25 minutes. Um,
Hmm.
where it's just, hey, you know what? Let the setup play out. You don't have to overmanage things. Just kind of let it work. Um, been working pretty well, so gonna keep going with that.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Keep
Sounds
going.
great. Thank you so much
Thank you,
again
Anne Marie.
for sharing the time with me, helping me get up. You guys, I got to tell you, without Jay in the background there, I'd still be going like this, waiting for the screen to go live.
You would have figured it out.
So super appreciative of you, and super appreciative of all the time that you put in and all the great effort that you give Top Step. You are just a class act, and I'm happy to get to spend time with you.
I appreciate you so much, Emery. I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and end it there. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We do have Dakota coming up with slow markets at 7:30 Central Time, and then Aaron with the London trade at 1:30. D with the Euro trade. Sorry, London Open at 1:30. D with the Euro trade at 3:30, and then we will be back for the opening call tomorrow morning. I think I'm on opening call. I got to check the schedule, but I'll see you all then. Have a great rest of your evening or your morning, depending on where you are in the world, and we will talk to you all soon. Thanks, Emery. Bye.
Bye.